Stop for a moment. Do not scroll. Do not rush past this. Because messages like this do not appear by accident. You did not click this video randomly. You did not arrive here by chance. Something led you here, quietly, intentionally, at the exact moment you needed it. This is the voice of Michel. Not a voice meant for everyone. Not a message for the distracted. This is for those who feel something shifting inside them, even if they cannot explain it yet. Right now, there is a truth trying to reach you. A reminder you were supposed to hear. A message that waits patiently until the listener is ready. Many will hear these words. Only a few will truly understand them. If your heart feels calm but alert, if your mind feels quiet but focused, then you are exactly where you are meant to be. This channel exists for moments like this, when the noise of the world fades, and one clear voice remains. Listen carefully, not just with your ears, but with your awareness. Because what comes next is not meant to entertain you. It is meant to awaken something you already carry within you. Stay here. This message has only just begun. Before anything else happens, understand this clearly. Not every message reaches everyone. Some messages wait. They wait for the right moment, the right silence, the right listener. If you are still here, it means something inside you decided not to leave. Most people live their lives surrounded by noise. Noise of opinions. Noise of fear. Noise of endless distractions. But every once in a while, there is a pause. A moment where the noise fades, and a quiet question rises inside the heart. Is there more than this? Why do I feel like something is missing? Why do certain messages pull me in without explanation? That moment is not weakness. That moment is awareness beginning. You may not realize it yet, but something in your life is shifting. Not loudly, not dramatically, but deeply. Sometimes change does not arrive as an event. It arrives as a feeling you cannot ignore. A feeling that you are being guided, watched over, prepared. This channel was not created to give answers quickly. It exists to remind you of what you already know, but may have forgotten. You are not lost. You are not late. And you are not alone in what you feel. There is a reason certain words stay with you. A reason certain messages return to your mind. A reason this voice feels familiar, even if you are hearing it for the first time. You are standing at a quiet doorway right now. Not a doorway you walk through with your body, but one you cross with understanding. Nothing is required from you except one thing: attention. Not forced attention. Not fear-driven attention, but calm awareness. Because the truth does not chase. It waits. And when it speaks softly, so only those who are ready will listen. Take a breath. Let go of whatever rushed you here. Let go of whatever you were holding too tightly. For the next few moments, you do not need to prove anything, decide anything, or fix anything. Just listen. Because the message you are about to hear was never meant to scare you, pressure you, or confuse you. It was meant to steady you. To remind you that even in uncertainty, there is order. Even in silence, there is guidance. And even when the path feels unclear, you are still being led. This is only the beginning. Stay with the voice. The message is unfolding. Deep shift. There is something important you need to understand now. Not every sign arrives as a miracle. Not every message comes with answers written clearly. Some messages come as recognition. A quiet moment where you realize that what you have been feeling was never random. Think back. There were moments when you felt protected without knowing why. Moments when something stopped you from making a wrong turn. Moments when delay saved you from harm. Those moments were not luck. They were guidance. Most people ignore these signs. They explain them away. They move on too quickly. But some people feel them deeply. If you are one of them, you have always known there was more happening beneath the surface. You were never meant to walk blindly. You were meant to learn how to notice. Notice patterns. Notice timing. Notice how certain messages arrive when you are quiet enough to receive them. This voice does not demand belief. It invites awareness. You are not being asked to change who you are. You are being reminded of who you have always been. Strong enough to listen. Aware enough to pause. Calm enough to understand. Whatever you are facing right now, it is not stronger than you. And whatever confusion you feel, it will not last forever. Clarity always comes after stillness. Stay present. Because the more you listen, the more you will recognize this voice not as something external, but as something familiar, powerful. Ending, replay trigger. Before you leave, pause for one moment. Ask yourself honestly, why did this video hold your attention? Why did you stay longer than you expected? Why do these words feel quiet, but heavy with meaning? Messages that are not meant for you do not stay with you. If something in this video keeps echoing in your mind, there is a reason. You may hear this message once, or you may need to hear it again to notice what you missed the first time. Sometimes the meaning does not change, the listener does. When you are ready, return to this voice, because what you hear next time may feel different. This is not the end. This is recognition. Welcome again to the voice of Michel. Stay with this moment, because what you are hearing now is not meant to pass through you quickly. There are times in life when clarity does not arrive as information. It arrives as alignment, a sudden calm, a quiet confidence, a sense that something finally makes sense. That is happening now. You may not see it yet, but awareness is already working inside you. Most people wait for permission to trust themselves. They wait for proof. They wait for approval. But the strongest shifts happen when you recognize truth without being told to believe it. You have felt this before. That moment when a decision felt right even before logic could explain it. That moment when silence felt safer than noise. That moment when patience protected you. Those moments were not accidental. They were signals. This voice exists to help you notice them again. Not to control your path. Not to replace your thinking, but to sharpen your attention. Because when attention sharpens, confusion fades. You begin to see clearly what no longer belongs in your life. Old fears lose their grip. Unnecessary pressure dissolves. And the future feels open instead of heavy. Nothing dramatic is required from you now. No sudden change. No announcement. No force. Just awareness. Awareness of how you feel while listening. Awareness of what feels steady instead of rushed. Awareness of what feels true instead of loud. That awareness is strength. And strength grows quietly. If this message stays with you after the video ends, it is because something inside you recognizes it. Not as a command. Not as a promise. But as a reminder. You are allowed to move forward calmly. You are allowed to trust timing. You are allowed to pause and still progress. The more you return to this state of listening, the more natural clarity becomes. And clarity, once found, does not disappear. It settles. It stays. Remember this moment, not because of the words, but because of how they made you feel. This is how recognition sounds. This is how alignment feels. And this is why the voice of Michel will always meet you exactly where you are. Do not rush away from this feeling. What you are experiencing right now is something many people rarely allow themselves to reach. Stillness. Not empty stillness, but the kind that carries direction. Most people believe movement creates progress. But true progress begins when the mind stops fighting itself. That is why this moment matters. You are not being pushed forward. You are being centered. When you are centered, decisions become lighter. Paths become clearer. and fear loses its urgency. Notice how this voice does not demand your attention. It earns it, because truth does not need to shout. It waits patiently until the listener is ready. And readiness does not come from effort. It comes from honesty. An honest recognition of where you are. An honest acceptance of what you feel. An honest willingness to listen without resistance. That honesty is powerful. You may not realize it yet, but moments like this quietly reshape how you move through life. After this video, you may notice yourself pausing more often, choosing words more carefully, listening more deeply. These are not changes you force. They happen naturally, because awareness, once activated, continues working even in silence. There will be days when doubt returns. That is normal. But doubt no longer controls you once you recognize its voice. You learn the difference between noise and guidance, between urgency and truth. And when that difference becomes clear, you stop chasing answers. You begin recognizing them. This channel exists for that recognition, not for quick reactions, not for distractions, but for moments that stay with you long after the screen goes dark. If this message feels familiar, it is because it is not new to you. You have carried it quietly for a long time. This voice is only reminding you that you are already capable of listening. Stay connected to that awareness. Return whenever you need clarity, not because something is wrong, but because you value understanding. This is not the end of the message. It is the continuation of something you were always meant to notice. Welcome back, always, to the voice of Michel. Stay here a little longer, because what is happening now is not something you experience every day. There is a moment in every journey when understanding shifts into certainty. Not loud certainty, not emotional certainty, but quiet knowing. That moment is closer than you think. Most people search for signs outside themselves. They look for approval. They look for confirmation. But the strongest confirmation is the one you feel without being told. Right now, something inside you is aligning. You may feel calmer than before, more grounded, less rushed. That is not accidental. When truth is present, the mind slows down. When truth is near, the heart does not panic. That is how you recognize it. This message is not here to impress you. It is here to stay with you. Long after the words end, long after the screen goes quiet, there is a reason you did not leave, a reason you kept listening, a reason this voice feels steady instead of demanding. Because what is meant for you does not chase you, it meets you, and when it does, you feel recognition instead of pressure. You are not being told what to believe, you are being reminded how to listen. Listen to what feels balanced. Listen to what feels clear. Listen to what does not create fear or confusion. That is where direction lives. Many people mistake intensity for truth, but truth is calm. It does not rush you. It does not force you. It does not overwhelm you. It waits until you are ready to notice it. If you carry this awareness with you after today, you will notice changes. Not dramatic ones, but meaningful ones. You will pause before reacting. You will choose clarity over noise. You will trust timing instead of resisting it. That is how alignment shows itself. This voice will not follow you everywhere, but its reminder will. And when you return, it will not feel unfamiliar. Because this message was never outside you. It was always waiting for your attention. Hold on to that. Remember this feeling. This is how understanding settles in. This is how truth stays with you. And this is why the voice of Michel is not just heard. It is remembered. Before this video ends, pause with me. Because the most important part of any message is not how it begins, but what stays with you when it is over. Right now, something has already changed. Not in a way that demands attention, but in a way that settles quietly inside you. You may not remember every word spoken here, You are not meant to. What you will remember is the calm, the focus, the sense of being exactly where you needed to be. That is how true messages work. They do not fill your mind. They clear it. You did not come here to be convinced. You came here to recognize. And recognition does not fade quickly. After this moment, life will continue as usual. People will speak. The world will move. Noise will return. But something inside you will remain steady. A reference point. A quiet reminder that clarity is always available when you choose to slow down and listen. This voice will not tell you what to do. It will not rush your steps. It will not distract you from yourself. It exists to remind you that awareness is already within reach. Whenever you feel uncertain, whenever things feel louder than they should, whenever you need to return to balance, remember this moment. Not the screen. Not the words, but the stillness you felt while listening. That stillness is not temporary. It is something you can return to. And when you do, this voice will feel familiar again. Because it does not belong to the past. It does not belong to the future. It belongs to the present moment where understanding lives. Thank yourself for staying until the end. Not because you were told to, but because something inside you chose to. This is not goodbye. This is awareness continuing. Welcome, always, to the voice of Michel. Do not underestimate this moment. Most people think the message ends when the video ends. But the real message begins after you stop listening. There is a reason this did not feel like ordinary content. There is a reason your attention stayed longer than usual. There is a reason this moment feels different from everything else you watched today. That reason is simple. This message was not competing for your attention. It was recognizing it. Very few experiences do that. You live in a world where everything asks for more. More reaction. More speed. More emotion. But clarity asks for something else. Presence. And presence is rare. That is why moments like this stand out. Not because they are dramatic, but because they are precise. You are not being told that something extraordinary will happen tomorrow. You are being reminded that something important is already happening now. Inside you. When awareness reaches this level, you stop waiting for permission to trust yourself. You stop needing constant reassurance. You stop mistaking noise for importance. That shift is quiet, but it is permanent. From this point forward, you will notice things you once ignored. How certain words feel empty. How some paths feel lighter. How silence sometimes carries more truth than explanation. This is not coincidence. It is calibration. You are aligning with what matters by letting go of what does not. And that is why this voice matters. Not because it speaks often, but because it speaks when needed. If you return to this video later, you may hear something you missed today. Not because the words changed, but because you did. That is how meaningful messages work. They grow with the listener. Let this moment stay with you. Not as something to analyze, but as something to recognize. Because when a message reaches you at the right time, it does not demand belief. It leaves understanding behind. And understanding, once felt, is never forgotten. This is not the end of the message. It is the point where it becomes yours. Remain aware. Remain steady. Remain present. And whenever you return, this voice will be here, waiting, speaking only when it matters. This is the voice of Michel. Stay present. Because what you are about to realize now is something most people overlook their entire lives. The strongest turning points do not announce themselves. They arrive quietly, without noise, without pressure. And that is why they are real. Right now, you are not being given information. You are being given orientation. A subtle understanding of where you stand, and where you no longer need to go. Many people spend years searching outward, believing clarity lives somewhere else. But clarity does not appear when you find something new. It appears when you stop ignoring what has always been there. You are not here because you were curious. You are here because something resonated. And resonance is never accidental. It happens when truth meets readiness. That is rare. Most messages fade the moment they end. But some remain active long after silence returns. Those messages do not entertain the mind. They reorganize it. You may notice this later. A moment where you pause instead of reacting. A moment where you choose calm instead of urgency. A moment where you listen more carefully than before. Those moments are the continuation of this message. Nothing dramatic needs to follow this video. No sudden change is required. Because the most lasting shifts do not rush. They settle. And once they settle, they influence everything quietly. You are not being led away from who you are. You are being brought closer to yourself. Closer to what feels steady. Closer to what feels clear. Closer to what does not need explanation to feel right. That is alignment. And alignment does not feel exciting at first. It feels calm. But calm is powerful. It outlasts noise. It outgrows confusion. It remains when everything else passes. If this video stays with you, it is because something inside you recognizes that this moment mattered. Not because of what was promised. Not because of what was revealed. But because of what became clear. Carry that clarity forward. Let it guide how you listen, how you decide, how you move. And when you return, you will not return searching. You will return recognizing. This is how awareness continues. This is how truth stays quiet, yet unmistakable. This is the voice of Michel. Remain here for this final moment. Because what you are about to understand now is not meant to surprise you. It is meant to confirm something you already felt. The most powerful messages do not change you instantly. They realign you. They remind you of what feels right before the world told you what to think. Right now, you are not reaching the end of a video. You are reaching a point of clarity. And clarity does not shout. It settles. Think about this quietly. How often do you truly pause? How often do you listen without waiting to respond? How often do you allow understanding to arrive without forcing it? Moments like this are rare because most people move past them too quickly. You did not. That alone says something important. You stayed because something felt steady here. Something felt balanced. Something felt real. That is not coincidence. This voice was never meant to follow you everywhere. It was meant to meet you when you were ready to listen. And readiness is not about belief. It is about attention. From this moment forward, you may notice that you hear things differently. You will recognize when something is empty. You will recognize when something matters. You will recognize when silence carries more truth than explanation ever could. That recognition is strength. It does not need validation. It does not need permission. It simply exists. Carry it with you. Not as a rule. Not as a conclusion. But as awareness. When the world feels loud, return to stillness. When choices feel heavy, return to clarity. And when you need to remember what it feels like to truly listen, this voice will be here. Not calling. Not chasing. Waiting. Because what is meant for you never has to force its way in. This is not an ending. This is alignment completed. Welcome, always, to the voice of Michel. Stay with this awareness. Because what you are touching now is something that cannot be taught, only recognized. Most people believe understanding comes from learning more. But the deepest understanding comes when something finally clicks inside you. Not loudly, not dramatically, but clearly. Right now, you are not absorbing words. You are absorbing alignment. That is why this moment feels steady instead of exciting. That is why it feels grounded instead of overwhelming. Truth does not rush. It does not compete. It does not demand your energy. It simply arrives. You may notice that your breathing is calmer. Your thoughts are slower. Your attention is sharper. That is not accidental. That is what happens when the mind stops resisting clarity. Many people live in constant reaction. They move from one thought to the next without ever stopping to notice what actually matters. But awareness changes that. Awareness creates space. And in that space, you begin to hear yourself more clearly. Not the noise, not the fear, but the steady voice beneath it all. That voice has always been there. This channel does not create it. It simply removes the distraction around it. You are not being guided away from your life. You are being guided into it with greater understanding. From this moment on, you may find yourself trusting your pauses more, listening before reacting, choosing clarity over urgency. Those are not habits you force. They are signs of alignment. If this message feels like a reminder rather than a revelation, that is because it is. You are not learning something new. You are remembering something essential. And what is remembered does not fade easily. Carry this awareness forward. Let it shape how you listen, how you decide, how you move. This is not instruction. This is recognition. This is what it feels like when clarity settles in. This is the voice of Michel. Stay with me for this moment. Because what you are realizing now is not something you hear often. Most people believe clarity arrives from answers. But the truth is, clarity arrives from timing. And this message reached you at a very specific time. Not early, not late. Exactly when your attention was ready. That alone makes this moment rare. You may not have planned to stay this long. You may not have expected these words to settle so deeply. Yet here you are. That is not habit. That is recognition. There are certain moments in life that quietly reset how you see things. Not by adding something new, but by removing what no longer fits. Pressure fades. Urgency loosens. And what remains feels honest. That is happening now. You are not being asked to remember every sentence. You are being asked to remember this state. The calm focus. The steady attention. The sense that nothing needs to be rushed. Because when you return to this state, clarity follows naturally. You begin to notice what aligns with you and what quietly drains you. You stop giving energy to what does not matter. You start listening to what does. That shift is powerful. It does not announce itself, but it changes everything. If this message feels different from what you usually hear, it is because it is.